Shalom, and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is a recording of a Yom Kippur sermon with Rabbi Rebecca Schatz.
July 4th, 1776. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. May 14th, 1948. The state of Israel will foster the development of the country for the benefit of all its inhabitants. It will be based on freedom, justice, and peace, as envisaged by the prophets of Israel. It will ensure complete equality of social and political rights to all its inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex. It will guarantee freedom of religion, conscience, language, education, and culture. It will safeguard the holy places of all religions. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, freedom, justice, and peace. I think it's interesting that in both of these foundational texts, even with almost 200 years between them, that the themes are clearly aligned. I'm hopeful that a reminder of these declarations from the founding documents of our country's establishments will encourage us to reclaim some of the definitions of our roots, to reclaim some hope for our future. I want to believe the best is yet to come. And so did our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and the creators of our nations. We must be mindful of our fundamental values and reclaim life to be one of meaning and hope. Recently, at Shabbat dinner, the conversation with my grandparents transitioned from weekly updates on our lives to politics and social issues. I noticed a shift in their voices as they said, "This is not the world we wanted to leave for you." My grandparents, raised during World War II, were young people who watched the evolution of a country post-World War, the deadly civil rights struggle, and many other societal tensions. They also witnessed the growth and development of the state of Israel, and now in their 90s, they are in a state of grief and worry. And so I share these foundational texts not to remind us of a commitment to our countries, but as a framework for understanding the liberties we have inherited. Furthermore, I would like to pose a challenge to each of us to reclaim life and remember our liberties in the pursuit of happiness to find hope for a better future. This Yom Kippur, I want to use the structure of spiritual ritual as a parallel for this challenge. I want us to see Kol Nidre as a way to reclaim life. Let us then frame this moment of Yizkor as a way to remember our liberties and recognize Ne'ilah as the entrance into our pursuit of happiness. Kol Nidre is a night to proclaim that we are ready for the next year, a proclamation of hope and anticipation, not of perfect behavior or a complete change, but the recognition of doing work towards a hopefully better future. Each year, hoping more and more for the best. I think it's safe to say that we have forgotten major aspects of the declarations of our countries, and that after we recite the Kol Nidre paragraphs, we forget those words over the course of the year as well. During that service, we must reclaim life by acknowledging the freedom we have to change ourselves and the situations around us. The Unetana Tokef is read on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur as a way of understanding the meaning of life. And this year, though often we read the words through the lens of despair, I'm choosing to hear them more profoundly as words of hope. Emet ki atahu dayan umochiach. Truth, when you are the judge and preacher and you know all, and you open the book of remembrances and from it you read, and each person seals their name in it. The list that follows incites fear and stress and yet reminds us of the reasons to live, because those terrible things will happen, and we don't know to whom or if they will affect us. However, we are the ones who write our name in the book of life. It is based on our actions that we sign our name. God does the research, but we have to be partners in the actions. How are we choosing life? How are we working to make sure that others feel healthy and comfortable and realistically able to succeed? In Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19, we read, Ha'idoti vachem hayom et hashamayim v'et ha'aretz ha'chayim v'hamavet, natati lefanecha habracha v'haklala, uvacharta b'chayim le'man tichye ata v'zaracha. I have put before you blessing and curse, and you should choose in your life to live, you and your offspring. Sforno comments that when God said to choose life, God did not mean for the sake of the reward. Rather, you should only choose what is truly life, such that you only desire life on earth for this purpose. Life is the inherent right of individuals to exist, enabling them to live healthy, comfortable, and successful lives according to our Declaration of Independence. Over the year, we accumulate promises and obligations and self-imposed identities and inner narratives that diminish us. We become trapped in who we are rather than who we might become. And Kol Nidre gives us permission to let go proactively. This year, we must reclaim life. We must acknowledge that we are still here, committed to ourselves, to each other, and to the hope that we can make this new year different. Yizkor is remembrance, not only of past lives, but also of our liberties. We need to tap into our hope more than our optimism. As Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks says, optimism and hope are not the same. Optimism is the belief that the world is changing for the better. Hope is the belief that together we can make the world better. We need to carry around our history, our mistakes, our memory, and recognize that hope means also doing something about the concern that we have for our present and our future. Liberty is our ability to live any which way we want and to fight for justice in that life. As part of Yizkor, we remember those who we have lost, who have taught us the ways of their world. And we remember and honor those whose sacrifices and fights have led to the liberties we pursue today, many of whom we do not know personally, but for whom we are immeasurably grateful. One of the most meaningful and important mitzvot in Judaism is Chesed Shel Emet, which literally translates to true loving kindness. The idea behind this mitzvah is that every person, no matter the life they live, deserves to be buried. The rabbis teach that what makes this mitzvah so special is that it can never be repaid. I was 21 when we buried my great-grandmother, Gigi. Though I was only alive for a mere 10% of her life, I got to share this mitzvah. A woman from Augusta, Georgia, who saw the world go from one war to the next, from lack of women's rights to women in governmental positions, and to voting for the first black president right before she died. Though I didn't bury women who were central in the suffrage movement, I did bury my great-grandmother, thinking about the life she journeyed through, the liberties she saw become possible. There's a practice during this time of year called Kever Avot, where people specifically go right now to visit the graves of those they have lost. You go to update your loved one, apologize for anything you have done that may have affected them, to share a part of your life, and expect that in some spiritual way they are listening and sharing wisdom back to you. We go to visit a grave because we still feel a connection to the name that we read and their influence on our life. Recently, I visited my great-grandmother and my uncle and shared parts of my life that I wish they were here to enjoy with me, things they would be excited about, proud of me for, and moments where they would have offered me advice. I speak to them as if they are in front of me, and I hope that they're listening and guiding me all the days of my life, even when it is hard to remember them. We do not just remember the names of those who have come before us. We put dirt in our hands, and we light candles in our homes, and we tear our clothing to show that their life has affected us. Our existence quite literally depended on theirs, and we are grateful for the liberties we have because of them. Yizkor asks, will we remember? Who will we remember? Will we remember our parents and grandparents and the values they lived by? What did our parents and grandparents hope for? Are we the embodiment and fulfillment of that hope? Will we remember the liberties others fought for so that I could be here today, hoping to improve the world for me and for my next generation? Yizkor is about memory, but not only of loved ones. It's also about remembering who we are and what we are meant to be. In a time when freedom is often taken for granted or distorted, Yizkor becomes a moment to remember the deeper meaning of liberty, the freedom our ancestors struggled for to live with dignity and to build families and countries and communities and a future. The liberty to make moral choices, to act with courage, to live in alignment with truth. Memory becomes moral clarity and a call to action for us to pick up where they left off, so that the next generation can say the same about us. Remembering the cost of freedom and recommitting to remember those liberties. And the finale to our high holiday season, Ne'ilah, our conclusion to this auspicious day. I've thought a lot this year about life cycle events, weddings, bar mitzvahs, visits to those older and homebound, deaths, prayers for the healing, reciting Kaddish, and funerals. How strong we are to be able to continue our rituals and observances in a world afire. What does it mean to attend a wedding instead of a protest for civil and human rights? What does it mean to spend time with a loved one when friends are in bomb shelters and lives are being uprooted and destroyed? What does it mean to choose happiness in a moment where others do not get to? A few weeks ago, I performed a funeral for a man who I did not know, the father of a congregant of ours. The funeral was graveside and only for family. 17 people of 3 different generations gathered to talk about their father and their grandfather. Most spoke and everyone laughed. I stood in the back. My vantage point was behind the family, looking at the speaker and seeing the casket suspended over the grave while listening to his loved ones. This was the first funeral I had ever done that was only for family. And it was the longest funeral I have ever done, and possibly one of the most profound. I only mentioned that it was the longest funeral, not because it was uncomfortable or boring, quite the opposite. It was important and moving and felt exactly right, because it was a celebration of life in its truest form. Not a party, but a true commemoration of a life well lived. Not without complications and challenges, but full of stories and jokes and intentionality, and above all, family. Of course, he had friends. There was no question. However, it was important for those closest to him to have a space to share memories and anecdotes that sustained their relationship with him. There are 2 parts of the Ne'ilah service. We are equally desperate to succeed in our plead for forgiveness, mercy, and an undeserved second chance, and to re-enter the material physical world that we deny for these 25 hours. Ne'ilah reminds us of this eager pursuit of happiness. Aristotle defined happiness as the ultimate purpose of human existence. He explained we desire many things, but usually as a means to something else. Only one thing is always desirable in itself, and never for the sake of something else, nearly happiness. As we know from recent studies and focus in our society on mental health, it is not easy to just make someone happy. And that's not the point of this element of the Declaration of Independence. The pursuit of happiness is the only right that implies continued work and hopeful action. And so with Ne'ilah, the gates close, and our Yom Kippur ends with the culmination of our spiritual longing. The most joyous day of the year, a reaching for joy of wholeness and renewal. We are supposed to be ecstatic for the people we have worked to be this next year, and for the lease on life that we have been gifted. Ne'ilah is happiness that comes from the integrity, from being aligned with what matters. We strip away pretense. We cry out with all that we are. We come face to face with our longing for love, meaning, and connection with God and others. We stand at the precipice of vulnerability and also of clarity. What do we really want? We are to seek the joy that comes when we are whole, when we forgive, are forgiven, and return to ourselves. A pull towards our pursuit of happiness through the life we will reclaim, the liberty we will remember, and the peace we will hope to create. In order for us to have hope in the United States and Israel, we must practice what we preach and hold to the rights that every human should have in their home: life and liberty, freedom, justice, and peace. We cannot truly be happy if we are not experiencing life with these rights and creating worlds where others can live with them as well. Therefore, we have to pursue happiness with and for others. We need to make sure more people are housed this year than last. We need to feed all those who are hungry more intentionally and without hesitation this year. We need to sit down with those whom we disagree and find ways to peace rather than avenues to war. Rachel Goldberg Polin and her husband John appeared on the 1840 podcast with Rabbi David Bashevkin on September 15th. Reflecting on an idea from Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Rachel shared, the modern Hebrew word for crisis is mashber. In the Torah, mashber actually means birthing pangs. It's the same word, because when you're in the moment of true physical labor pains, it feels like a crisis to your body. It feels like you're at the end, that something might tear you apart, and yet it's actually the moment that brings birth and creation and light. That idea implanted itself in me, Rachel continued. Reclaiming life and remembering our liberties in the pursuit of happiness. There is a special prayer you say when you finish studying a section of the Talmud. It begins, "We will return to you, and you will return to us. Our mind is on you, and your mind is on us. We will not forget you, and you will not forget us." We stand here for Yizkor, very aware of this feeling of return. Returning to a loved one's embrace, hearing their voice in our minds, smelling their cologne on our pillow, reading a note from a birthday years ago. Loving someone means knowing that heartache will come when they are gone. But hope is living in love and not focusing on when it will end. Recognizing, like with our texts, that we will continue to return to those memories and find new vitality and connection. Yizkor reminds us to claim the life we are living and remember those who walked life with us, to teach us what it means to pursue happiness and to pursue a world of peace, of hope. To those who lived their lives teaching us how to walk this world, we remember you today as we continue to grow and build. May we all this year, in memory of our loved ones, and still living with loved ones surrounding us, promise to live our lives to the fullest and therefore create justice, peace, and freedom through our hope for the pursuit of happiness for all humanity. Rabbi Tarfon Omer, Hayom Katser v'hamlacha meruba. Rabbi Tarfon said, the day is short and the work is great. Lo elecha hamlacha ligmor, velo ata venchorin libatel mimena. It is not your responsibility to finish the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. So to my grandparents and their generation, we are going to be okay. There is much work to be done in this world, but you started it, and we are hopeful to continue it. The mitzvah is to begin, not to complete. So we will live with hope. Gemar Chatima Tova.
You've been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast website or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information on Temple Beth Am, Los Angeles, please visit www.tbala.org. www.templebeth.org.